call the meeting to order, please. The Town of Lee Right to Know Law Meeting Checklist. As Chairman of the Select Board, due to the COVID-19 coronavirus crisis, in accordance with the Governor Sununu's Emergency Order Number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, this board is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to the meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the Governor's Emergency Order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, this is to confirm that we are providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. We're utilizing the Zoom platform for this electronic meeting. All members of the board have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during the meeting through the Zoom platform, and the public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, to participate in this meeting through dialing the following phone number: 1-646-558-8656 and entering meeting ID 837-0677-1688, password 534667, or by entering the same information through zoom.us. B, providing public notice of the necessary information for accessing the meeting. We previously gave notice to public of how to access the meeting using Zoom, and instructions are provided in the Town of Lee's website at lee.newhampshire.org. C, providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are problems with access. If anybody has a problem, please call 603-659-5414. D, adjourning the meeting if the public is unable to access the meeting. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting, we will adjourn the meeting and have it rescheduled to another time. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. Let's start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance. When each member states their presence, also please state whether there is anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is required under the Right to Know law. I'm John LaCourse. I'm present, and nobody else is in the room. Mr. Brown?
Yes, alone.
Yes, alone. Is Mr. Bugby there?
I'm here and I am alone as well.
Thank you very much. First order of business, Ms. Rossi, Planning and Zoning.
Good evening.
Good
As
evening.
you're probably all aware, we are in a drought. The state of New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services would like the municipalities to do a few things. One is, as I'm sure you guys remember, several years ago, we were also in a drought. And at that time, the board discussed that they were not interested in putting restrictions on homeowners at that time, even though we can. But my suggestion is that we put, like we did in the past, information out in the e-crier to all the residents, asking them to please be cautious, restrict their outside watering, which is what the state would like us to do is implement an outdoor water use restrictions, establish an emergency location where residents may access water, and communicate to the public the importance of conserving water and water conservation tips. And if we could put the link to this paperwork on the town's website, that would be great. If we could encourage people to limit their outside watering, that would be great. If we could tell them in an emergency situation, they could get drinking water, let's say, from the public safety complex. You know, not obviously not a lot of it, but some. And then if it gets worse, we could revisit if we have to do further things. But for now, this would be a start.
I think it's a good idea. As before, I'm not interested in instituting any laws or requirements of the town's citizenry, but however, the putting in the e-crier with the link, I think is the proper way to go.
Okay. And then also in the past, when we were in a drought, because we have sprinklers at Little River Park, we have to decide if we want to continue those sprinklers every day. If we don't, I'm sure Steve can chime in. I'm sure the lawn is the grass will burn, but that's also a decision the board has to just talk about and make.
Steve, are you there?
I've already cut the fields back to every other day. They were at every day back when it was real hot and dry, but the little bit of rain we've got's helped, so they're being watered every other day now. They're not every day like they were 2 weeks ago.
Okay, I guess we'll watch it, see where it goes, and just have Steve report to us if he starts seeing some real damage out there.
Okay.
Anything
you.
else?
So that's it on that. And then back on June 22nd, myself as well as Julie Glover and Jim Banks received a complaint about a business feral contracting on 125 High Road. So normally, in normal circumstances, what I would do is I would bring this complaint to the zoning board, at the next available meeting. I've consulted with our attorney, and she agrees that it is not, what she advised us to do is to let him operate until he gets to the zoning board. The zoning board is not meeting as regularly scheduled because of COVID-19. They're having their very first Zoom meeting this week, but there's 6 other files before this one. So he's 7th in the queue for a zoning board hearing. Our attorney advised that it's not in the town's best interest to shut him down now because he's been in operation for over 10 years. And we're just now doing something about it because we have received a complaint. So I just need the board to agree with that. That's okay to get him in when the zoning board is caught up.
Well, obviously, when you ask, you pay a lawyer for their opinion and usually stand by it. So this select person would support it. What about the other 2 select board members?
Go ahead,
Can
Scott.
you tell us what exactly, I've read the complaint, but what exactly in the complaint is he doing that's possibly in violation?
So
What specific things?
So his business technically does not, this business violates our zoning ordinance, his business on High Road. The other items talked about, which is number 2, operating a commercial screening operation. I believe that that's a composting, which our attorney agreed with me that is actually agricultural. So screening of composting is allowed because when you have compost, you screen it, you mix it with other things.
Mm-hmm.
And then number 3, driving vehicles in excess of posted 28,000 pound. Yet again, Steve Bullock could answer this, but he had permission from Steve to do that. And number 4, our attorney confirmed too that the adjustments that he's done in his property, which was for his personal use, are not a violation as well.
So
the only issue is he's running his construction business out of his home and it's not allowed.
and he's been doing that for, what did you say, 10 years?
10 years. It's morphed into what it is today, but he started off 10 years ago with light construction and and like a tree service business and a mill, and it's morphed into this.
Have you had any contact with the people that signed the letter? Is this just something they just noticed, or has this been bothering them for years, or?
I
No?
think it's been bothering him for a little while. I've spoken to the gentleman, Mr. Wolf, 6 months or so ago, and he had some concerns then. And
Okay.
then I think it's just got to the point that he sent the letter.
Can you
Can
hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hello? Hear
We
me?
can hear you.
Is after I saw the letter, sure I looked at it correctly with what I said. This gentleman is not the only person on High Road. Equipment. I counted at least with bobcats. How they just nailed down at least 4 or 5 have a business operating out of their yard that requires heavy equipment. Some of it is container, is lumber, but this gentleman equipment.
Are all of you experiencing Mr. Brown going in and out?
Yeah.
We are.
Okay.
You're not the only one.
What
Karen-
Mr. Brown had said to me, he came in, and he visited me after he got the letter. He drove down High Road, and what he's saying is this is not the only business on High Road,
I
and
see.
that's what he's saying.
Okay. Karen, my last question would have been, you said this person, Mr. Farrell, is 7th in line. When do you think the ZBA is going to get to this particular issue?
I don't know. So I have 5 people who are willing to do a Zoom meeting tomorrow night. So, and you're allowed to have, 5 as a full board. But one of the gentleman's wife is having twins next week.
Oh,
So once she has her baby, he's going to be unavailable. My guess, honestly, would be September, October.
okay.
Mhm.
And I have other things in line that are violations as well that happened right before this happened, right
So-
before COVID-19.
Do you have other people that are alternates? I thought there was more people than that.
There is, but they are not comfortable doing a Zoom meeting.
Oh, technically uncomfortable or?
Yes, and and the zoning board's not required to meet, nor is the planning board
I see.
because of COVID-19.
All right.
But the planning board is meeting right on Thursday.
Correct.
Correct.
Yep.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Anything else on this subject? All right, I
There's-
guess
Terry's back.
I can see Mr. Brown.
you can.
Yes.
Well, that's good. I can't see.
Oh, what fun.
Can they,
There. Anyways, anything else there, Ms. Rossi?
No.
Thank you.
Or if you're accepting the floor, Fred Wolf has his hand raised. But I don't know if you're accepting input from the audience or not.
Is it pertaining to this particular issue, would you know?
I would think he's the gentleman who sent the letter, so I would assume yes.
All right, I'll recognize Mr. Wilcox.
It's Mr. Wolf. Can you hear me?
Mr. Wolf, thank you.
I just want to clarify that while the business has been in operation for 10 years, it has not been at this address for 10 years. It's been at this address for approximately 2.5 years. And so the issue does not go back 10 years by any stretch of the imagination.
Yes, Mr. Farrell lived further down High Road. I don't remember Fred, do you remember what number he lived at before? He's at 125 now.
He was at 145 then. He was there for a couple of years, and his business was nowhere near the capacity or the size that it is now.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. We'll note that. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, let us move on. Fire Chief, Scott Nimitz.
Good evening. I just wanted to come before the board to discuss our firefighter position that we got approved. We did move along and make a list. We got 10 applicants. We signed up for 8 oral boards for interviews. 1 backed out. So we only interviewed 7 people. And then last Thursday, I did 5 chiefs interviews with the applicants. I think we have 5 good candidates. I've talked to the lieutenant and the deputy chief on their opinions. We are at a point where I would like to move forward. So I was just coming to the board to see your thoughts on that.
Well, my thoughts are, I think I said it last time, I think the budget is running pretty good with respect to people paying their taxes, what I understood from last time. So we're not severely behind. I feel pretty good that the state will come across with some funding to continue things. And since we already approved this, I think it's time to move forward. So I would move forward, but I want to hear the other members of the board's comments. So the floor is open. Mr. Bugby, you first, then Mr. Brown.
Can we get a report from the town administrator, hopefully, or Linda, in terms of what revenues are?
Please, that sounds good.
Sure. So Linda gave me the figures at the end of today, and in comparison percentages, For fiscal 20, we're at 92.86% collected against the warrant. And for 19, at this time, it was 91.94. So we seem
What
to
is
be
that
doing
dollar-wise that we're short?
that we're short.
Yeah,
No.
you said 91% collected, so what is that 9%? What's that dollar amount that's not collected yet?
So it would be roughly, let me see if I can pull up the file. Hold on. Okay, these are the figures. Can you see that?
Yep.
Okay.
So for 19, we're short about 550,000. In 2020, we're short about what?
No. For 19, we had
All right.
collected at this same time last year,
Yeah.
we had collected 91.94%.
Oh, I see what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of the tax bill that went out that was due July 1st,
Yeah,
what percentage has that come in?
92.86%.
Okay. So we are down, what is that? 500,000?
500,000, something like
Excuse me?
that. 520,000?
All right, so $500,000.
120,000?
$500,000 then. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So when does the rest of that usually come in, Linda?
You on there, Linda?
Linda's
I
muted.
know. Sorry, I'm clicking on the wrong button.
Okay, yay.
If anything more is going to come in, it'll be, well, the majority of it will come in this month.
Okay. All right.
But there's
Okay.
always people that, don't pay.
Well, there's always those. That's true.
But we are ahead of what we were last year.
And which is nice to see concerning the COVID-19 and what we thought would happen. But we're a little bit ahead compared to last year. Mr. Brown, do you have a question?
No, I haven't.
Or do you have a statement?
I'm sorry.
Do you agree to move forward with the hiring of a fire person?
I do.
All right. We got this point, Mr. Bugby?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm less concerned than I was before.
I am too. I feel pretty good about it. So I think we already kind of proved this position last time. So I guess, Fire Chief, you have our permission to move forward.
Thank you very much.
You are entirely welcome. It'll be exciting to see another member of the fire department. Is any of these people leaveaways, if you want to call it that?
Or girls.
Uh-huh. That's nice.
We do have 2 that applied within the department, and then we have 3 that are on the list that applied that are some in the Seacoast area, and we actually had 1 that was more up north, but they've all been in the fire service for a while. They all come with a lot of good certifications and training.
So when will you make a formal decision?
By the end of the week, I told all 5 of them that I'd get to them by the end of the week. I wanted to discuss it with you guys first.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your patience on this particular issue. I'm looking forward to it. All right, thank you. Steve Bullock, Public Works Manager.
I wanted to ask about, I put in the request for vacation time at the end of the month. So that was my big question.
Oh, the vacation, and how many days you taking off, just for curiosity?
8,
Oh,
7 or 8.
no problem. And I approve the request. What about the other members of the board?
I don't know. It's kind of sketchy, Steve. Jeez. No, it's fine. I'm fine.
I'm fine to move forward. Mr. Brown? Mr. Brown? I guess we got two. It's enough to move forward. Thank you on that issue. Anything else, Steve?
Oh, I think the dock's in the water, so unless there's an objection that I put it in for the 4th of July weekend, I can take it out tomorrow.
No, I think you want to leave it in. Did you have to get wet to put it in?
Yes.
Yes, okay. I love it. Okay, thank you on that. Julie Glover, Town Administrator.
Oh, John,
Yeah,
John, can we stay with Steve for just a minute?
yeah, please.
Steve, since we approved the fire department and the revenue seems to be coming in, I would be okay if we wanted to move forward with the paving.
Okay.
What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are that'd work fine. I'll call and tell the guy tomorrow. I didn't want to award anything and sign a contract and then get hogtied by it, you know what I mean? So
All right.
I just been pushing people off.
All right. Well, that's my thoughts. I don't know about Mr. LaCourse and Mr. Brown, but
Well,
I'd be okay with it.
I was okay with it last time, so I'm okay with it this time. I'd like to move forward. Mr. Brown, can you hear us? What's your opinion?
Yes, I'm okay with it.
All right, hey, rock and roll and getting some things done in the town of Lee.
So I'm sorry, John. I just wanted to get that in there while Steve was still here.
Absolutely, I do appreciate that. Okay, Julie.
Okay, so the leased office space, we're on hold right now. And I think Karen can also speak to this. So after our meeting last week, we discovered that the amount of paving around the entrance for the planning and zoning office would actually be $14,000. We had put 4,000 in the budget, but Karen received some information that indicated it would be 14,000. So I have not moved forward either with petitioning DRA or getting a final draft of the lease. I don't want to spend any more money until we know what the board's thoughts on that are. And we're also waiting for Mr. Daly to return from vacation so we can talk about that. My concern is that we'd be spending a considerable amount of money on a building that we don't own, and it would be an improvement that we can't take with us. So that's my concern.
I have a
Ms. Rossi?
question.
Please.
What's the difference in the cost? What was the difference? Was it typo or what was it?
You'd have to ask Karen that. I think it just was determined that there was a bigger area that needed to be paved versus when we first looked at it.
So the $4,000 is to just, so in order, you can't come and go in front of the building. You have to, you can come in off of 125 and turn right into the building, but to leave the building, you have to go around the building, out the back, and then around the garage there and over by the trucks work center, and then out to 125 that way. Because if you pull out of the office area directly to 125, you will cut off trucks trying to turn into there. So the $4,000 was just to pave that driveway, so to say, to connect you to the area that's already paved that will bring you around the building. But the $14,000 is to pave the entire area. So the parking area would be paved for the people that park into for my building. It would pave the handicap areas for people who park into my part of the building. And it will also direct the water properly. Could we get away with just the lane? Sure. But people will have to park in the dirt. It won't be laid out. The handicap won't be, the handicap people would be parking on the dirt as well. And the drainage would be an issue over there. So 14,000 paves the whole area. You can line the spaces, you can line the handicap places, just make it easier to get in and out. I intend to talk to Mr. Daly tomorrow and to see if he originally said any paving was up to us cost-wise. But like Julie said, that we're improving somebody else's property. So I'm gonna talk to him tomorrow to see if at the very least, if it offered to split it with us, at the very least.
Well, if we don't do it, it sounds like a problem. I'd be willing to go as far as what you just suggested, the 50%, and see if he'd be willing to do that.
Okay,
We're splitting the cost with him. When we move out, whenever that is, he's going to have an improvement there that, you know, so maybe he'll see that as something that's a positive for him.
okay,
But I think whatever we need to do to move that particular plan forward, I think we're going to have to do. So
okay.
that's
Thank
just
you.
my thoughts.
I agree. Let's look into it and continue discussing.
Okay, the other thing is we still have to, or Karen is still going to submit to DOT for a change of use.
Yes, I remember that.
Okay,
Was it found that they never did it when they moved in?
Correct. There's
Oh.
no, they haven't done a driveway permit since S&J went in.
Oh,
I found that out this afternoon.
that's not good. How long does that take?
They have 30 days to review.
I see. All right.
Mhm.
And
Well, okay, we go ahead and we move into this building this building, we move in, et cetera. What's going to be happening during all this? CVC as it was and start working. Who's going to be doing what?
Mr. Brown, you can phone in on the phone number and we'll probably be able to hear you a lot better. Just a thought.
Carrie, you keep cutting in and out. We only hear like 50% of what you're saying. The rest of it, it's like a buzzing sound.
Got two different microphones. I can't get either one of them to. All right, I'll put it in an email.
Why
Okay.
don't you call in?
Mr. LaCourse,
Yes,
I would like to make a motion that the town administrator acquires a video cam from Mr. Brown so we don't have to deal with this. And then when he's done with it, he can give it back to the town so we can use it, because this is not effective. He's not really participating because we can't hear what he has to
Hey,
say.
I think it's a good idea.
Thing with you, okay? I will have a new computer to take care of all these problems.
There you go. You could be online. Okay,
all right.
let's continue on, please.
So just checking in with the board to see whether you still want to go ahead with the proposed pay raises and bonuses for fiscal '21. We will be running that payroll next week.
I'm okay with it.
I'm okay with it.
Okay,
Let's do it.
thank you. Next item to talk about is Emergency Order 56. The board doesn't have to make a decision on this tonight, but I thought we just want to talk about it publicly and make sure that we keep it in the back of our minds. Interestingly enough, it gives the board authority to enter into payment agreements, which
Mhm.
we've already done. And you also have the ability to reduce appropriations based on anticipated revenues. So we'll definitely want to keep an eye, as we have been, on all of the revenues.
Mhm.
And then if need be, the board can reduce the fiscal '21 budget before you set the tax rate. That's what this emergency order does.
We'll keep our finger on the pulse.
All
Mhm.
right. The annual fuel bid award.
Mhm.
This year, we just went out for number 2 heating oil and off-road diesel. We're still in the 3-year contract with propane,
Mhm.
and Hartman was the low bid.
Mhm.
Just so everyone knows, this does go out to a lot of fuel suppliers, and it gets advertised. but over the years, we've gotten fewer and fewer responses.
The only two we have is what?
Hartman and Bracco Oil.
Yeah, that's it. Okay. Therefore, I move to award the fiscal year 21 annual fuel bid to Hartman Oil and Propane for both number 2 heating oil and off-road diesel. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
No.
Roll call vote, Mr. Bugby?
Yes.
Roll call vote, Mr. LaCourse, yes. Roll call vote, Mr. Brown? Mr. Brown?
I think he said yes, but
Yes.
Yes, okay. You have your oil. Move on, please.
All right, that's all I have.
Okay. Next thing is I move to accept the consent agenda as presented.
second.
Discussion?
No.
Mr. Bugby?
Yes.
Ms. LaCourse, yes?
Votes, yes.
Yes. Mr. Brown?
Yes.
All right, consent agenda has been moved, seconded, and fully voted. Any miscellaneous and unfinished business?
Just an update, I have not heard from Mr. Stevens, so just to let the board know that. We talked about giving him a couple weeks, so I think at the next meeting, we need to decide if I still haven't heard from him, I'll touch base with him, but I think we need to move that particular issue forward.
Okay, and next thing is, now that you're appointed to the Oyster River School Board Finance Committee, whatever the title is, when are you gonna meet?
I haven't heard anything.
Okay,
They haven't contacted me at all. I assume it sounded like that Dean had accepted, but I'm not
Yes.
sure about that either.
Yeah, yes, Mr. Rubine accepted, and I have not seen anything further from the school either. I did let them know that it would be Mr. Rubine and Mr. Bugby.
have any,
I haven't heard anything, John.
okay, have they done any breaking ground or anything at this point, do you know?
Oh, yeah, on the middle school?
Yes,
Yeah, they've done a lot of work. They broke ground probably in March or April.
okay. It'll be interesting to see where things go with the new school. Any other unfinished business?
What's the plan in terms of when we meet again? Are we back on our old schedule, or what are we doing now?
Well, we will hopefully need to touch base next week after Karen's had an opportunity to talk to Mr. Daly
So next Monday?
next Monday. Yep.
Yeah, we're kind of staying in the regular Monday zone at 6, but because of this interest of moving town hall, I think it requires us to meet more regularly.
Okay.
So count on Mondays at 6, I guess, at this point.
All right.
Okay.
Anything else?
Nope.
No. I move to adjourn.
Okay, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we are adjourned.
Thank you.